Hey guys, the Marine is S tier against Stalkers. Reason number one, Marines are light, so they don't take bonus damage from Stalkers, and the Marine is also super cheap. So for the price of one Stalker, you get 3 Marines. 3 Marines have more HP and more DPS than a Stalker. The only disadvantage of the Marine is Marines have a little bit less range. They have range 5 and Stalkers have range 6, but other than that, it's an S tier. The Marauder, I think, is also an S tier counter to the Stalker, because Marauders, they have very high bonus damage against armored units, and Stalkers are armored, so the Marauder deals 10 plus 10 to armored, and Marauders have the same range as Stalkers, 6, and the Marauder also has the concussive shells upgrade to slow down the Stalker and pick them off. On the other hand, the Stalker also deals bonus damage against armored units, and the Marauder is armored, but the Stalker's bonus damage is just not that important, so the Stalker deals 13 plus 5 damage to armored. It's not that strong, so the Marauder also is an S tier. And then we have the Reaper. This is a pretty weak one, but not terrible. The thing about Reapers is they are generally a pretty weak unit at fighting. It's more of a harassment unit, but at least they are not an armored unit, so they don't take bonus damage from the Stalker. They also can distort the Stalker movement with the grenade thing, but other than that, their damage output and health is low. They're also slower than a Stalker, they have less range than a Stalker, so they are very mediocre, not terrible. And then we have the Ghost. I think the Ghost is also a B tier against the Stalker, and the reason is, number one, the Ghost has an attack that deals bonus damage to light units, but the Stalker is not light, okay? And the abilities of the Ghosts some are good, because the EMP is very good against Stalkers. So EMP instantly removes 100 shields, and the Stalker has 80 shields, so that is strong against the Stalker. But then again, there's not really a reason to make more than one Ghost against a Stalker army. So one Ghost as a support against Stalkers is very good to take off the shields, but then the Ghost's damage output is very weak at killing Stalkers, so they are very mediocre, and Snipe also doesn't work because Stalkers are biological, so I think B tier is correct. And then we have the Hellion. This is of course a D tier. This unit has splash damage, and it has a very low damage output, and the damage output is reliant on bonus damage against light targets, but the Stalker is not light, so it's very hard to kill Stalkers with the Hellion. They also don't have a lot of HP. I think it's a D tier. The Hellbat, I think, also is a D tier, but for another reason. So the Hellbat also has bonus damage against light units with a blue flame upgrade, and Stalkers are not light, so again the damage output is low, and even more importantly, the Hellbat has a very short range of just 2, and it is slower than the Stalker. So the Stalker, because it is pretty fast, it has range 6 and it has blink, the Stalker can kite the Hellbat with no end, so this is useless against Stalkers. And then we have the Cyclone. I feel like the Cyclone is also not strong against Stalkers, because yes, a lock-on can kill a Stalker, but the thing about Stalkers is once they have blink, it's pretty easy to counter the Cyclones, because yeah, the Cyclone can lock on the Stalker, but the Stalker can use blink to either just blink away and break the lockdown, or to blink on top of the Cyclone and to destroy the Cyclone, because the Cyclone also is armored, so it takes bonus damage from the Stalker, and the Cyclone also has very little HP. They die quickly, so it's not strong against Stalkers. And next we have the Siege Tank. I think this is an awesome counter to Stalkers. I would put it into S tier. There's many reasons for it. Number one, Siege Tanks deal bonus damage to armored units like the Stalkers. Number two, Siege Tanks have splash damage and Stalkers tend to clump up. And number three, they vastly outrange the Stalker. So a tank in tank mode has 13 damage, Stalkers just have 6. So the tank can kill the Stalker before the Stalker can even come in range. It's an S tier. And the Thor is actually also pretty good in my opinion against Stalkers. I would put the Thor into A tier. So the Thor has generally a large health pool, it is pretty hard to kill, and the Stalker really doesn't have a high damage output. even though the Stalker deals bonus damage to armored units and the Thor is armored, but even with the bonus damage, the damage output of the Stalker is low, so it's hard to kill a Thor for Stalkers. And the Thor also outranges the Stalkers. Thors have anti-ground range of 7, and the Thor kills the Stalkers pretty quickly. So a Thor deals 60 damage against grounds, so the Thor will always 3-shot a Stalker. That's pretty nice. It's good, A tier. And next we have the Mine. The Mine is an interesting one because I think it is both good and bad. Because the Mine, number one, it one-shots a Stalker and it deals bonus damage to Stalkers. And the bonus, it deals splash damage to Stalkers, and that's strong because Stalkers tend to clump up. And also, it deals bonus damage to shields, okay? So, one single Stalker is one-shot by the Mine, and a group of Stalkers take splash damage plus bonus damage to shields. So this can be very strong. But the thing is, it's only strong when the Stalker player does not micro. Because Stalkers, number one, they have range 6, and the Mine has range 5. So as long as the Stalker has detection, Stalkers can kill Widow Mines for free. And another thing is, Stalkers can use Blink to dodge the Widow Mine. So I would say overall, as long as the Stalker player micros, the Mine is very weak against the Stalker, C tier. The Banshee is mediocre. It's not strong against Stalkers, but it's also not terrible. I would put it into B tier. So the damage output of the Banshee against ground units is pretty nice. It can kill Stalkers pretty quickly. And the Banshee is not armored, so it doesn't take bonus damage from the Stalker. So that's why I'm not putting it into the lower tiers. But it's also not very strong, just because the Banshee is pretty expensive. It costs 3 supply. It has little health. It dies quickly against the Stalkers, even though it doesn't take bonus damage. But it's not terrible. It's just mediocre. Then we have the Viking. And I would say the Viking is very good, somewhat surprising, because mainly we think of the Viking as an anti-air unit, but in the current patch, the Viking is pretty cheap, and the landed Viking actually has a very high damage output against mechanical targets, and Stalkers are mechanical, okay? Also, they have the same anti-ground range. On the landed Vikings have range 6, is at the same range like the Stalker, so the Stalker cannot kite, and because their damage output is against mechanical is really high, they actually can kill Stalkers pretty well. They are good. They win against Stalkers. And next we have the Liberator. I think this is not a strong one, but it's strongly dependent on positioning. So I mean, the Liberator, I would put it into C tier because, yeah, the Liberator has very high damage output against units that are inside the circle, but for a unit like the Stalker is pretty fast and it can blink. So for a Stalker, it's just very easy to just blink out of the circle and then take a position outside the circle and shoot the Liberator down. Also, the Liberator is an armored unit, so it takes bonus damage from the Stalker. So it's not good. I would say C tier. And next we have this guy here, the Raven. This is also an interesting unit, but I would actually put it into D tier. And the reason is none of the spells is useful against Stalkers. So number one, anti-armor missile sounds good, but again, Stalkers have blink and they can actually dodge the anti-armor missile without taking any effect. So this spell is weak against Stalkers. The interference matrix disables a Stalker, but it's very wasteful to use interference matrix against Stalkers. They are not a super high value unit. That's not efficient. And the third spell, the auto turret, also is not good just because the auto turret is immobile. Stalkers can always blink away or run away. So I think it's pretty useless against Stalkers. And then we have the battlecruiser. This is also a mediocre one. I would put it into B tier because the unit itself, the battlecruiser, is pretty strong at fighting against Stalkers because the battlecruiser has 2 attacks. The anti-ground attack deals 8 damage per shot and the anti-air attack deals 5 damage per shot. So the damage output of the battlecruiser against ground targets is pretty high. It is strong against ground units. But then again, a disadvantage is that, again, the Stalker has blink, so the Stalker can use Blink to dodge Yamato Cannon. Yamato Cannon is pretty much useless against Stalkers, and also the BC, of course, has a production disadvantage because the battlecruiser has a very long build time. It needs a tech lab, it needs a fusion core, so it's pretty difficult to produce them, whereas it's very easy for Protoss to pump out large amount of Stalkers. So the unit itself is good, but Yamato useless and production inefficient. I think it's mediocre, it's B tier. This guy here is of course useless, we don't need it, it's only provide anti-air. And I think the statics are also not strong. I would actually put them into C tier because, yeah, they are pretty strong at fighting against Stalkers. But the Stalker is a pretty fast unit and it has the advantage of Blink mobility. So using Blink, it's pretty easy for the Stalker to just blink in a good position where, for example, the Stalker is out of the range of the planetary fortress and can still attack SCVs. So it's not very efficient to make statics against Stalkers.